get it that you think that this reality is real. And we're not quibbling. We just want you to know that the real reality is the vibrational reality that always precedes the manifestation. And if you can just hear us when we say to you that your emotions are not about your observation of the reality that has already taken shape and form. Your emotions are about the reality that is in the vibrational sphere that you are moving toward. In other words, what you feel is about this vibrational reality and your relationship to it. That was big. Did you get that? We have not said that clearly before. So here, we'll say it again. Your emotions, every one of them, are about this vibrational reality. How you feel is about this vibrational reality and your right now, in the moment, thought process relative to it. So now we'll say it in another strong way. If your life in this body had not caused you to move to a new place vibrationally, and if the larger part of you had not already taken it as the new and improved you and become it, present tense, you would never feel negative emotion. So negative emotion means every single time you've expanded to something that you're disallowing with your current active thought. So think about what that means. If you are paying your bills and feeling discouraged, that discouragement is based upon what you are calling reality. We say, no, that isn't it. That discouragement is not because of your current reality. It's because of your depriving yourself of your vibrational reality. You see, we know as physical beings, you've been using words like faith and hope for a while, a long while. And we want you to understand that what the true accomplishment that a feeling of faith or hope will give you is it causes you to distract yourself from beating the drum of what is. And it puts you in a suspension that allows what is already amassed vibrationally to manifest physically. And if you don't allow that release of resistance, it can't manifest. We get it that you can't look at a situation and really define it differently than it is. There's too much fact, too much evidence, too many others focused upon it and pointing at it in the same way. We get that. But we want you to withdraw your attention from the evidence that is holding you in the evidence. We want you to stop holding yourself in the evidence that is less than you want and allow yourself to flow freely into the vibration, and we promise you the evidence will follow. Everything that you want is in this vortex of creation. Now, we've spoken it vibrationally, which is a little less comfortable for you to hear. Now we're going to break it down and give you the same seminar that we just gave you in physical terms. You can't focus on what you don't want and get what you do want at the same time. It's one or the other. And whatever you're focused upon, you're practicing the vibration of, and it's becoming very vivid in your vibration, and law of attraction is giving you what you think about whether you want it or not. When you think about what you don't want, or even better stated, when you think of less than what you do want, you won't feel as good as you can feel. When you think about what you want, even if it hasn't manifested, you'll feel great. Everything that everyone wants is because you think you will feel better when you get it. And so what we're suggesting is that you feel better even before you get it in terms of manifestation, that you go for the feeling, which is the reason you're asking for it anyway. And when you go for the feeling and accomplish the feeling and maintain the feeling and practice the feeling and get in the vortex and be in the vortex and stay in the vortex and sustain your vibration in the vortex and practice the vibration of the vortex until you are chronically someone who's in the vortex, each and everything that you've ever asked for must come into full manifestation view for you, where everyone you know who is anywhere nearby can see it and hear it and smell it and taste it and touch it. And then they will say to you, hey, how'd you do that? And you will say, I stopped worrying about the absence of it and started feeling the vibrational presence of it, and I tuned myself to the vibration of it, and then it just showed up. That's how it works. We're eager to talk with you about anything that matters to you. Nothing is off limits. There is not one thing that you are doing that we want you to do differently. We do not want to guide your desires or your requests because we so understand the balance of your environment, and we so trust that your sifting and synthesizing of life is causing you to create magnificently just as you knew you would. And we have the privilege of standing in your vortex, in this vibrational realm, feeling the fullness of all that you have become, with such appreciation of your expansion, not just your expansion, your reason for our expansion. And we do as we told you we would do. We hold steady to the vibration of who you really are, incessantly, eternally calling you forward toward it. And when you click in, whether you just slip in because you have the good fortune of watching a little girl bouncing around the campground, or whether you slip in because you deliberately felt your way in, you reached for the best feeling thoughts you could find. Inside this vortex is who you eternally are and where you ultimately will return. We just don't think you should have to croak to get in the vortex. And it is our promise to you, as addictive and compelling as your physical reality is, you're going to get hooked on this vortex. You are. You're going to get hooked on that high feeling, that high flying feeling. You're going to get hooked on the feeling of who you really are. You're going to get hooked on that feeling of elation. Esther finds it when she gets behind the wheel and they hook that car up and they get out on the open road. And the sun is shining and the roads are beautifully laid out before her and the vista is around and her lover is next to her and everything in her world is perfect. And she just wants to yodel down the canyons of the highways of this world. She just wants to shout to everyone, look at this beautiful life that we've carved out for ourselves. And when she finds that place, she wishes to maintain it incessantly, but she doesn't. In other words, it's a high that comes, isn't it? It's a high that comes. It's a feeling that comes. It's that rapturous feeling of being in love. But then life causes you to focus. Then suddenly she realizes she doesn't know where she's going. And maybe she hasn't programmed the Magellan just right or the Garmin just right. And where's Jerry anyway? He should be up here helping me. And then the vortex just spits her right out. And then she finds another thought and the vortex just takes her back in. In other words, it's such a willing partner, never holding a grudge. Your vortex never says, where were you yesterday? Your vortex never says, we've been here keeping a light on for you while you've been over there complaining about that and that and that and that and that. We're turning this light off. You just stay over there in the dark for a while. Your vortex is always calling you and your source is always there. And when you find the feeling of it, then practice it, milk it. When you're having a good moment, ask yourself, what are the components of this moment? Why do I feel so good? What's so lovely about this? And describe it. Use your words. Use your emotional words, but begin to practice the conversation. Affirm from inside the vortex. In fact, affirm constantly and do it all from inside the vortex. And never ever affirm from outside the vortex. When you affirm from outside the vortex, you practice the outside the vortex vibration. When you affirm from inside the vortex, you practice the inside the vortex vibration. So, what do you want to talk about? Some things. It is nice to know that under all conditions that well-being abounds. We are eager to talk with you about the laws of the universe and how they affect you. But more important, we are eager to express to you our appreciation to you and your willingness to play the important physical role of creation that you play. You are source energy beings, and you are expressing here in this physical body at the same time that you are source energy beings. And that is something that is a bit of a surprise to so many people, because they are accustomed to thinking in terms of being dead or alive, physical or non-physical. They're accustomed to thinking about being non-physically focused or physically focused. So much so that often when we are interacting with you, you ask us, well, Abraham, why aren't you physical? As if we are not, as extensions of that which you are. You want to know when you will be non-physical, and we say, always. And you say, no, I mean, when I withdraw my attention from this time-space reality and I become non-physically focused, then will I be not different than I am here and now? And we say, of course, there are different vantage points. We're expressing to you from a vantage point of non-physical. And we have the advantage of pure positive energy. We have the advantage of being always in this vortex of creation that you are helping to carve out. But you play a very important role. You said, I'll come forth into this physical body as an extension of source energy for the purpose of exploring the contrast that surrounds. And as I explore the contrast, you said, before you made your trip from non-physical to physical, you said, as I explore the contrast, I know that it will serve me in a very powerful way, because from the contrast, you said this, I in my physical form will be able to focus clearly from my selfish perspective that which I think would be an improvement from where I stand. And when you realized that you would do that, you also realized that when in your physical body, by knowing what you don't want and therefore knowing more clearly what you do want, you knew that when you know what you don't want and therefore know more clearly what you do want, you knew that you would then send off a rocket of desire, a vibrational request that the non-physical part of you receives in the same way that you are vibrationally connected to something not known. Many of you are connected to something that you don't know, in the sense that you can't see it, you can't hear it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, you can't touch it. It's non-physical. So you're not very good at translating what's non-physical through your physical senses. In other words, you suspect there might be something there. You look around your planet and you see all of this magnificence. You see your planet spinning in perfect proximity to other planets, and you have an inkling, you're very wise and deductive in that way, that there must be something bigger going on than what you can see, hear, and experience with your physical senses. As wise as you are, you haven't managed to scrape enough dirt together to launch another Earth into orbit. In other words, you know that there is a bigger picture, but you can't see it. You can't translate it through your physical translators. But we want you to know that there is this non-physical world that existed before you came into this body, and that is expanding as a result of you being in this body. And here's how it works. From your non-physical perspective, you set forth the intention to be here in this body. And a part of the consciousness that is you, that is source, sometimes you call it soul, inner being, some refer to it as God. A part of that consciousness comes forth into the physical personality known as you. As you explore, you constantly ask for more. You are constantly sending forth vibrational requests for expansion, for improved expansion. And when those vibrational rockets precede you, even though you can't see them, they are received by the larger part of you. And the larger part of you becomes the vibrational equivalent of the request that you have set forth. So what that means, we've been explaining that to you in earlier conversations by saying, when you ask and contrast insists that you do, it is given, or source answers the request. But today we would like you to understand it in even more full fashion, that when life causes you to ask for more, the larger part of you not only answers it, but vibrationally becomes it, becomes the vibrational equivalent of your request. What that means to you is that when you, through life, uncover what you consider to be a situation or a problem, you immediately launch, even though you don't know you've done it, the equivalent solution to that problem. In the moment that a question occurs to you, the answer occurs in the non-physical form, because every particle of the universe contains that which is not wanted and that which is wanted, or that which is wanted and that which is not wanted.